Good evening, Steve Dressler, teacher, 27 years, Covington High School. Just a little follow-up with a couple things here before I get to some concerns. First thing is meeting with council. Is there any update as far as a meeting with city council so we may clarify the truth behind if council did or did not tell central office not to give raises? Any updates with that?
I don't know that we have anything scheduled. I know different members have spoken to other members individually, one-on-one.
Okay.
But as of right now, we haven't set a meeting to discuss.
Okay. Pay raises for the top of the scale. Have there been any updates as far as compensating top of the scale with the raise?
Central office staff has provided us a large amount of data in which we received, I don't remember what day it was, I'm sorry, that we had planned to review individually and then come together, discuss personnel this evening.
Okay. Positions not being replaced. I was wanting to talk about there should be funds available to give raises for those positions if there's certain positions not being replaced. As looking online today, I see that there's still 7 vacancies, but I think that's down to 6 because I believe we do have a new art teacher. So do we still have 6 vacancies left in the school system, or is there less?
Will be discussed in person.
Okay, so and there's possibility that there could be extra funds there. Another thing I'd like to ask, we did lose a computer technician with Mr. Burkholder, moving on down to Dabney, I believe. Did his position get replaced, or was it just delegated to other personnel already on staff? Do we know? Was the position replaced, or did it?
It's still in the budget.
Still in the budget?
Yes.
Okay. Because, if so, if it was delegated to other personnel, what I was wanting to know is that personnel, if the duties are delegated to them, are they getting additional duties? Are they getting additional pay? Or how's that going to work? And moving on with that, I don't understand how a non-SOQ position, like an assistant principal, can get a stipend for being an athletic director for when that position was a 2-in-1 position to begin with many years ago. Even when I was a student in an athlete Covington High School, the assistant principal and athletic director was one position and got paid one salary. Until the new person came on board, then it was separated and we hired an athletic director. So now that position has gone back to the assistant principal, and it's not only does he get the assistant principal pay, but he's getting a stipend for being athletic director on top of being a football coach. And so he is a boss to himself, which I think is a conflict of interest. Once again, if it's gone back and just delegated as a 2-in-1 position, there was $6,000 extra that could have been put toward raises. Pay scale, being that a large majority of the state funds and raises, being that a large majority of the state funds for raises were used to equalize the bottom of our pay scale to match the counties, and the county bumped their pay scale up top to where their top of their pay scale is now more than ours, there's a concern. I kind of see the writing on the wall. I see the joint committee using the county pay scale as a used pay scale since their top of the scale is now higher, which could possibly mean 14 of us here, our salaries would be frozen until we reach the top of the scale again, which is year 36 in the county compared to 25 in the city, which means most of us, our salary could be frozen for another 6 years. Is there any way of knowing when this new pay scale will be decided? And on top of that, when will the new board be decided? Because we're a year away.
There's a whole lot in what you just said. If I were you, I would at least just come to a question. Basically, you're asking, are the teachers at the top of our scale going to be frozen in the consolidated
Correct.
division? Is that okay?
Yeah, because like I said, and I have a copy if you want to take one and pass around, like of Allegheny County's pay scale. From steps 0 to about 18, they're kind of the same, maybe a little off here, a couple $100 or so, but once you get past step 18, there's a big discrepancy between, and of course the top of their scale is almost $1,000 more than ours. What I'm afraid of is if the joint committee and the new appointed board thinks that their pay scale is better, then we'll keep our salaries, but in order for us to reach the top of the scale, we're actually going to be frozen for 6 years until we get to the top of that scale, put our 6 years in. And, you know, that, to me, that's a major concern because, once again, you're messing with the livelihoods, the retirement of teachers that have put in their years of dedication here. And, you know, as teachers at Covington City Public Schools, the goal was to get to that year 25. And I hate to see it bump all the way up to year 36. If you take Botetourt County, for example, the top of their scale, after 20 years, the top of their scale is $62,878. Roanoke City is $67,500, it's 30 years of service, and Roanoke County is $61,514 over 30 years of service. Now, if you stick to our pay scale and maybe put Allegheny's top of the scale with ours, you know, that's a good incentive, 25 years to reach 61,000. Then you might draw some teachers here to our county wanting to teach. But I think if their pay scale is chosen and it's drawn out 36 years, that's tough to swallow for a lot of us that may be frozen. It's just not top of the scale. You're going to see teachers here in the city, 18 years and above, that's going to be frozen a year or two or maybe more just to reach that. So, you know, and with that said, I think the top of the scale going to next year, you know, in some way, shape, or form, it should be equal. And that's something that should be announced to the teachers, staff, all across the board pretty soon. You know, like I said, it's up on us quick. We're almost a year away. And I know that I guess it's going to be school board members appointed that, like, you know, it'll be 2 or 3 from here, 2 from there. So hopefully that is being discussed.
3 from the city and 4 from the county. And to assuage your concerns, it doesn't sound like there's much of a question left there. It sounds like that's more of a concern. So there is an HR group that I think has begun to meet. But it's one of those situations, Steve, where you have to give those people at least the chance to get together and try to merge the scales as best they can. Those decisions, as most decisions that come before a school board, emanate first and foremost from, you know, the professionals.
Right.
So
okay. So now let's backtrack. So when will this new school board be joined? When will it take
July
place?
1st of 2022.
July 1st of 2022. So that's next summer. So that is
You were right.
So in other words, in July 1st of 2022, we won't know our pay scale till July 2022.
Well, I would imagine you would. Again,
Before then or after the board?
I think you could ask a series of questions to people that aren't even here at this meeting tonight. So, Steve, nobody wants to leave that hanging out any longer than they have
because
to.
I mean, you're toying with the future and the livelihoods of your teachers. I mean,
that's strong. That's strong.
But you know, how can we make plans of doing certain things?
Toying implies that we're doing it for our own pleasure, which is not.
Well, no, I know you're not doing it for both, but we should be able to know that as soon as possible.
I think there'll be a budget process similar to the way, you know, y'all had a budget process prior to, and I think that's the time that all cards will be on the table and the board, the joint board, will work to that budget process. And so I think the original questions were about the current budget that we're in now, but I think that future budget will go through a process in a timely manner, and so that's a
realistically, just as Mr. Woodson says, when we get to probably sometime late December or January, it can't be hanging out much past that.
Okay,
because
so
that's
a decent time frame.
Because
we know that these board members, those board members are going to be the new board members. That's why we're hoping that things like this, you know, are being taught and decided soon. So and be open with us and give us an idea of what that's going to be.
I think we have been open, and that's why I took issue with the word that you used, toying, because we're just simply not. I mean, we're sitting here middle of July, And just as Mr. Woodson pointed out, I mean, the logical way for that must be decided, basically. It should be decided by the time we start projecting for next year's budget. So, I mean, I don't know that there's any reason that you have to have an answer on that on July 19th of 2021.
No.
It would be great if
Right.
we could have that.
It'd just be- yeah,
To
it'd just
say
be
that it's
nice.
imperative. or
Right,
that
but I just
we're
don't want
taking
on
our
July of 2022 saying, here's our pay scale, here's what we're gonna do, that's,
That would
that'd be
always
tough to swallow.
Well, I don't even know how you plan for, I don't even know how you budget if you don't know what your scales will be.
Right.
So,
And as far as the appointing of who will be members of that new school board, that's not going to be up to us as individuals or the board. The two local
Governments.
governments will have to
Okay.
appoint those, and then it's going to transition into an elected board at some point.
the memo that was put out was that an effort would be made.
Correct.
And that has to go through, again, that's not anything that either government can decide on its own. That has to go through ballot referendum.
And then because how our terms are staggered currently, will be when those appointed members come off, and then the election, if that's where it goes to, will take place.
Well,
I was under the same, I have some of the same concerns.
Right.
I voiced those to you before about, I would like to know who was going to be on the upcoming board too. You know, that way those individuals could start working together and planning as well. So I understand where you're coming from with that.
You know, I just like to put out there the request that, you know, if we are able to get that raised at the top of the scale, and you can find that, to make it equitable or equal to that of the Allegheny County's top of the scale, to preserve our scale and keep it as a scale in place for the new school system, because I think it is a very good scale, and I think it's one that would draw teachers here, being that you could put in 25 years, you're at the top instead of 36. I mean, that's a whole 11-year difference. You know, I'll throw it out there. I've done this before. Anybody willing to make a motion to make it equal tonight?
No, don't tell me.
I've
I think
done it before.
process is the word.
What's that?
Process. There's a process that we go through as a board, and you have to give us that time.
So you're
We
making a motion to do a process?
Well, not making a motion to do a process, no, sir. I'm just saying, as Mr. Eric said, July the 19th is not the time. We understand what we have to do. Just ask them for us to do it right now.
No, I'm just, I'm gonna push it,
And
I'm
I
gonna push it.
understand that.
And,
Okay.
I'm not up here for my health, so,
Right.
And I'll just say on behalf of the board that there are 2 active committees working almost nonstop on some of these questions that you have asked. There's a human resources group that began work last week. There's another meeting tomorrow. It's central office staff and superintendents. That report will be given to the school boards, both school boards. It is a very thorough list of what must be done before July 1, 2022, and salary scales is on there.
Okay.
And there's also a very active finance committee been working since middle of June, trying to answer some of these questions. And everyone's working as hard as they can to get these answers as well as we can, with actual facts that are accurate, and provide our staff the information that they need.
and along with that, and the pay scales, I know I've talked to one of 2 of you about this, talking about the sick days and the personal days, are they gonna carry over? Will we be able to be bought out? How is that gonna work when this new consolidation system occurs? What are we gonna be able to do with our sick days? We know what we have in place now, and then we could cash in if we retire. I know the county doesn't have that, but then how's that going to take effect on us? Would we know that before going into this school year with what's going to happen with those sick days? I mean, I think that's only fair, because if we can't carry them over, that's, just use them.
You'll be calling in work a lot. No, same
Do you blame me?
thing.
Do you blame me?
Depends on how much you call in, I suppose, but that question is the same as salary scales. I mean, anytime you're looking at personnel issues, that whether it's prospective faculty coming in or just the existing faculty that we have in both divisions, they deserve to know, you know, what rules they'll be operating under.
Right, but that subject's totally different than the pay scale because
Absolutely.
come July of next year, it's over. So whatever happens, happens, and, you know, either we lose them, we cash them, or we carry them over, and we don't know.
I believe that item is on that,
It is.
that meeting list. When Melinda advised me when that meeting was taking place, that was one of the things that was going to be discussed during that meeting.
All right, that's all I have.
I'm on the finance committee, and I think I can probably safely say that a new salary scale will probably be either 25 or 30. It's probably not going to be 36, but it might not be 25, it might be 30. It's probably going to be either 25 or 30. It's not going to be 36. It's not going to be over 30. I think I can safely say that.
From the talks, it seems like
Right.
most people say 36 might be a few too many.
Correct.
Is basically the consensus. So I think Ms. Irvin's correct. At this point, nobody knows exactly how many steps will be there, but it will be some sort of a blend between what we have and then what they have. So it may look more like ours. It may have a few more steps than that. But
And then
again,
there's JRTC's on the next one.
right,
Yeah.
right. You've
Different
also
salaries.
got it's basically a third entity too, because they're
Right.
mostly separate from either division as far as they are.
And will you take local surrounding counties into effect with that to stay competitive with them?
Oh,
Well, when you look,
absolutely.
you know, we collected some of that information from this last meeting we had, and, you know, Bath has 41, Craig has 40. I mean, I'm not sure we want to go there.
No, no.
Okay, so we got to be careful what we consider, right? We want to look at things that are fairly common with regards to the system, the county, right? I don't think it's fair to compare us to Roanoke City. I don't think that's a fair comparison. But likewise, I don't believe necessarily that some of the surrounding counties have the best idea in place when it comes to pay scale and pay. So you got to look at both sides of the coin. There's obviously there's good things about the system we have in place, and obviously there's things we probably need to address while we have the opportunity. So I think it's a mixed bag of things. But I would say that, you know, your concerns haven't fallen on deaf ears, and I think the staff's done a really good job of getting the information that we requested in a short period of time, and afforded us the opportunity to look through it.
Okay.
And,
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.